Welcome, boys. This is going to be part 3, I believe. Part 1 was AC compressor replacement. Part 2 was vacuuming down the system, checking for leaks with the UV dye. And this is where, after we discovered we're leaking from the AC condenser in front of the radiator, we need to replace it. So this is not going to be a fun process because it's going to be a bit involved. It's definitely not as easy as something on the BMW, for example. Because our condenser is underneath all this. I'll show you in a minute when we go underneath. So we're going to have to pull this intake off. My filter's down in there. We can get it from the underside. Then we're going to have to remove these bolts along here, and the fans all along here from the top. And then we got a couple holding it on here, this fiberglass piece. But the fun part is, you see 3 of these things kind of down here. Yeah, those have to come off too. I don't know why GM thought that we needed those there, but because they chose to put them there. We got 3 on this side and 3 on the other side. Oh, and we're gonna have to disconnect this cooling hose, and I'm guessing that's a transmission line running to the radiator. That's gonna have to come out too. Hope that when we put these things back on, they don't leak. As you can see, the box that's covering the radiator and the condenser doesn't allow for us to lift that out of there to bump into those 2 lines. Plan on changing your coolant too. We go under the car. You can see the other end. Maybe you can see the other end where those screws are coming through. Probably not, because it's going to focus on this thing. Get out of the damn way. So, like, here is one. You can feel them. Here is one. That's where the 3 ends are poking through. That's my filter that I got to get out from down here. I can just loosen it from the top and pull it down. And on this side, you can see where it's leaking from with all that oil. And you can see the other 3 screws that are poking through. Like right up here. Now these, I don't think we can easily access. I'm going to have to pull this vacuum pod thing out of here. I'm hoping on this side I don't have to remove this coolant reservoir. I probably do, but I mean, there's a slim chance I might be able to fit my 7mm up here from the bottom and get access to those. There ain't really no access from the top, I don't think, except maybe the top one. Top one perhaps, the other 2 probably underneath. But the 3 on this side, ain't no way. This thing has to come out. So we're gonna have to move this big vacuum pod thingamajigger out of here, and then I might be able to stick my hands down here and get those 3 things out, along with all the other bullshit that's in the way here. So, fun. I'll set you up and let's start this nightmare. Alright, just to show you, once you move that thing out of the way and that rubber thing that pops up here also, that's all one piece. That rubber boot that attaches to the vacuum pump is attached to that. This fucking fluffy thing, but once that's out of the way, you can see those three screws down there, the 7 mils. So, patience is a virtue, I guess, with this. Alright, every single one of these bolts and or nuts should be loose. I should be able to lift this thing up. This, what I believe to be the transmission line, both of these seem to fit. Both metric and standard. There's a 13 on there. We got like this much of a wiggle room. But then put the standard one on here. There. God damn. And we have this much wiggle. So I feel like the 13 is just a scotch less. But as for these big guys, you got 7/8 and 3/4. And they barely fit over it, so they're like super snug, so you don't have to worry about stripping. It's just that one's a little on the loosey-goosey side, so pretty much I'm going to have to put a wrench on there and give it a whack with a hammer. I got this loosened already, so I get a run at it with a hammer. But this should come off now once that thing's out of the way. Alright, I ended up using a 1/2 inch with a whack, and that has worked. How much transmission fluid? We're going to lose the question of the day. I'll try to do this quick so you don't die of a heat stroke. Just help me lift this thing off.
It's going to scratch me.
Bro, just fucking get it. Might need 2 hands. Come the fuck on, piece of shit. Gotcha. Whoa, what a bitch. Alright, well, after a whole bunch of finagling, managed to get that out of there, and ooh-wee, we need to clean this radiator. So I'm going to get a vacuum and clean this off camera. Clean my air filter. Put the 1.5 ounces of oil in my new condenser. And then we'll be able to get this back together. You want to leave this system open as little as possible. I do have some earplugs shoved in those lines for now to kind of prevent as much contaminants from getting in there as I can. And this really hasn't dripped that much transmission fluid. It doesn't come out of this line either. It looks like it comes out of the radiator, at least with the angle I have it at. And I did previously drain the coolant from the lower radiator hose before I took that off. The system was low on coolant, and it's been 5 years, so it was due anyway, which is all fine and dandy. But anyway, I'm going to vacuum all this out off camera, and then we'll be back with the new condenser. Okay, it's the next day. Don't mind that in there. I left it there overnight. You may notice the radiator's out. I wasn't too confident that after I cleaned it, that big moist spot down on the corner wasn't caused by the radiator leaking. As when I opened the cap, the coolant level was low, and I can't help but think that either A, all that debris had accumulated there and was trapping moisture, caused the AC condenser to corrode and possibly the radiator, or the radiator was leaking in that spot and the moisture coming out was trapping debris and then accelerating the corrosion process on the radiator and condenser. So I just went ahead and ordered another radiator. It came in. I guess I don't know, the receipt packing somewhere, but pretty sure she got from AutoZone. And as we see, that's the old GM radiator. That's the new one. Noticeably thinner. So whatever, we'll see if it cools any better or not. I feel like it's less clogged, so that'll help. But I'm not too sure about this thinner radiator nonsense. Definitely going to be a decreased capacity in the cooling system. But it is what it is, I guess. Lifetime warranty, but had I anticipated needing a new radiator to begin with, I would have just went ahead and ordered like an all aluminum Mishimoto one or something, or literally anybody who was selling all aluminum ones that was at least this thick. But whatever, everything else seems to fit. These brass things come in here, but I'm pretty sure if you take them out, that's what it'll be, just like it was on the factory one. So I can just put those lines in, and to take it off, all I did was take this hose off and then the other transmission cooler line using the same flare wrench. So all right, let's go ahead and get this back in, and then get the AC condenser in, and then button everything up. When you put your hose back on, try to put the clamp exactly where it was, since you know it wasn't leaking before, or before, you don't want it leaking again. Okay, so after a bunch of finagling, ideally this is easier for two people, so you can have one on one side and one on the other. Finagle it so you can keep going back and forth, but we got the stud through here. Those three things, hopefully down there, are lined up. So I'm going to put the fittings and everything back in. One thing I do want to note, I Teflon taped those lines that are going to go to the, from the transmission into the radiator. Have them capped off with those expandable earplugs so we didn't leak or contaminate the fluid, since this sat open longer than I wanted it to. And you know, for those transmission lines, those were capped off. And then for the AC lines, and then ones from the condenser. There's a pressurized gas in here, because last night I pulled these plastic things off, made a hissing sound. You can smell some gas coming out of them. And then I filled it with the 2 ounces of oil. It's supposed to be 1.5, but I just went ahead and did 2 for good measure, since maybe over time we've lost some oil in the system itself. But once we take these plastical deals off, those will go in and they'll thread over it. I'm going to Teflon tape those threads as well, just in case. And then we should be golden. So I'll put all the fasteners back on, put my air filter back in, refill it with coolant. And then that'll be it. Next video, we'll be vacuuming down and recharging the AC system for realsies this time. Okay, boys, I decided to spare you from all that watching me just reattach fasteners. We don't have any left over, and we didn't run out, so same amount we put on was the same amount that came off. I will just say a couple things. You probably don't need to put the Teflon tape on here because the O-ring is what seals it. I bought new O-rings, but the ones that were on there already looked fine. And we know it wasn't leaking from there when I used the UV dye, so I just reused them, but if it starts leaking, I'll put new ones on. I have them, so not a big deal. I don't know if they're supposed to be a torque spec, so I just went tight. I probably should have paint marked them. That way I could have put them exactly where they were. But I just went, you can actually work them down almost all the way by hand and then just give it a snug holding a wrench here so you don't twist the line and then tighten both of them. The biggest thing that was a pain in the ass is these three ones that are down there at 7 mils. Not the ones on this side. The ones on this side, not that hard to line up and do. It's the ones on that side that's a royal pain in the ass. But just make sure that you tighten this one down before you do this one, because if you do this one first, you can't get that one. And then tighten any of the other screws that are holding this fiberglass shroud on. It's saying you want to do the bottom one on this side before you do the top one here, so that's not in your way. Finagling it, probably easier if you have two people. And then you can't see the three now because this plastic thing's, or this rubber thing's in the way. That goes to this vacuum pod pump thingamajigger. But we're back on. So, alright, hope this helps if you're changing your AC condenser and /or radiator. Next, I'm just going to go ahead and top her off with coolant off camera. Which, by the way, when I guess maybe because of the angle the car's sitting at, all the water's still in the pump and everything in the engine. That's why only like a gallon came out. Perhaps if I tilted it the other way and raised the rear end up, we would have almost none in there. But if you have your bleeder valve, you can always bleed any air out, or if you take this thermostat out, once you have all the hoses and everything connected, you can actually just fill it up through this hole. That'll fill the block and everything up, then put this back on and then continue to fill from there. And then you only need to bleed it because there won't be any air in there. But you may or may not have to deal with that if you're only replacing the AC condenser. Alright, catch you boys on the next one. Next part's going to be vacuuming down the AC system and then recharging it with R12. Thanks for watching, boys. Peace.